This episode of the Young Turks is brought to you by Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/TYT and get a 2-week trial for free.
CPAC happened over the weekend. Lots of booing back and forth. Lots of absolute absurdity. Andrew Breitbart comes out and says that liberals are animals. These are quotes. Monsters, un-American, okay, and racist. All 4 direct quotes. Okay, how are liberals racist? How? And then you had a Republican governor of Indiana, Mitch Daniels, come out and say, "We know the liberals are really nasty. That's in their nature." How's that for a joke? Yeah, I know the liberals are the nasty ones, right? And then Breitbart gives that speech afterwards, as if to say, like, "Ha, of course, we know we're the bad guys." In fact, Mitch Daniels at the end of his speech said, let's remember, we got to get the voters to like us a little bit. Meaning, like, of course he knows they're the nasty ones, right? I mean, how are liberals racist? How are they, the guys who are in favor of peace, they're the bad guys, and they're the ones who are monsters and animals? So CPAC was chock full of absurdity with these nut job radical right-wingers, right? But at the same time, there were some interesting forces that were much more reasonable. Real conservatives. Because those are reactionaries. Those are radicals, the people that Breitbarts of the world, etc. But there are real conservatives who believe in limited government. And that includes foreign policy. That includes the defense budget. That includes the government staying out of your personal lives. And apparently, there's a lot of them that go to CPAC, the largest conservative conference. How do I know? Well, 2 numbers here. First of all, the guy who won the straw poll by overwhelming margin is Ron Paul. He won 30% of the vote. Okay, clear number 1. Actually, the guy at number 2 is somewhat close. He's the establishment Republican, right? He's Mitt Romney, and got it at 23%. Then the rest of them fall off a cliff, right? Gary Johnson's at 6%. Chris Christie, which is now a new conservative darling, is at 6%. Newt Gingrich is at 5%. Tim Pawlenty is at 4%. Sarah Palin came in 9th at 3%. Okay, embarrassing, right? So you got basically the establishment guys that are for Romney and the Ron Paul guys. But did you notice the second number that, if you're paying close attention to politics, that might have thrown you a little bit? Yeah, I said Gary Johnson at 6%. Do you know who Gary Johnson is? He's the former governor of New Mexico. So why is he even on this list? You want to know why? Because he's a libertarian, and he believes we should legalize marijuana. He came in 3rd. Ron Paul came in number 1. Gary Johnson came in 3rd. You know what that shows you? There are real conservatives out there, and they don't agree with their politicians. They don't agree with the guys who are out there saying, okay, how do I sign the quickest check I can to pay back the lobbyists that got me elected and that are, doing all these things and intruding into our lives, whether it's with laws in our social lives or whether it's the Patriot Act, whether it's the warrantless wiretapping. They're actual conservatives. They don't agree. They don't agree with the politicians. They don't agree with the Republican establishment. Now, some things I, of course, massively disagree with them on. But that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a democracy. We're supposed to disagree on some issues. But it's refreshing because they agree with us that the lobbyists aren't the ones who should be in control. It should be real conservative principles versus real progressive principles. And it turns out we actually agree on a lot. That's real bipartisanship. But that's a bipartisanship you never get in Washington because they're busy agreeing to what the lobbyists said. Democrats and Republicans are like, oh, yeah, lobbyists? Oh, what is it, tobacco checks? Yeah, John Boehner will pass them out. We'll take them. What do you need? The drug lobby, the defense lobby. But real conservatives don't agree. Look at the numbers. Real progressives certainly don't agree on what Washington is doing. But on issues like defense, on getting the government out of our lives, oftentimes we totally agree. If only we can elect politicians that are on our side and not the lobby side. So in that, I was actually pretty encouraged by the results of CPAC. So, I mean, you had your crazies and you had your, mainstream Republicans and you had your rabid right wing, but you also had the larger chunk of real conservatives who we could actually agree with on a lot of issues and disagree with others, but to have a real honest debate with. Can we please get to that country and that state?
If you want to build a website or a blog, where do you go? you go to squarespace.com.
Squarespace just pushed a brand new social widget for geolocation services. Display your most recent check-ins from Foursquare, Gowalla, and Facebook Places on a live Google map. Go to squarespace.com/TYT and get a 2-week trial for free.